Welcome to Dating Déjà Vu, the podcast where we talk about your patterns, your pitfalls, and your personal growth in modern dating. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, marriage and family therapist and dating relationships expert. And today we're talking about how you're not fighting for a resolution, you're fighting for relief. Oftentimes people think it's about the dishes. It's not about the dishes. And we're going to talk about why it's hard for you to go there. So if your love life sounds like a lot of it of the same, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. So let's figure it out together. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Dating Déjà Vu. Today, we're going to talk about why we keep having the same fight in our couples. So this could be for a single person too. If you can look back and think about what were the constant battles that I was having. One of the constant battles, of course, is, insecurity or jealousy, right? There was always an aspect of jealousy in my relationships, or there was always an aspect of trust, or there was always an aspect of, them not being enough, whatever that is. So even if you're a single person, this is still going to benefit you. But in my couples, like we've had this fight before, different day, different trigger, same ending, right? And it always starts with something small, like they didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher the right way. It might be a comment. It might be a tone. It might be forgetting to do something for you. But whatever it is, suddenly we're in the fight. We're spinning, we're spiraling, we're calling names, we're crying, we're shutting down, we're doing all the things because fucking dishes weren't put in the dishwasher correctly. And afterwards, you're left wondering, why the hell does this keep happening? Well, we're going to go there today because it's not about the damn dishes. It's not about the volume on the TV, nor the temperature in your room. It's about everything underneath that. I know you knew I was going there. So let's unpack the real reasons why you keep looping in the same fight, same conflict over and over again, and what your brain, body, and beliefs have to do with it. Number one, I want to talk about how your emotional cup in your relationship is obviously already full, but you're not doing anything to empty it, right? So you're not actually reacting to the moment, you're reacting to every moment that came before. So whatever wasn't dealt with, so letting that cup out, right? Letting the fluid, whatever you want to call it, out of your emotional cup, we're not doing that. We're just adding more resentment to it. We're adding more unprocessed feelings to it. And it just keeps going, going, and going until that cup bursts, it ruptures, and there is no way to repair it. And that's where we want to avoid, right? The emotional cup is overflowing, and any sort of drop in that cup, whether it's the comment, the tone, the temperature, feels like a flood to you because that cup literally is bursting at the seams. So, whatever it is that tips you over the edge, it's not because that thing is usually a huge thing. It's because that was the final drop in your cup. And what ends up happening is the fight feels bigger than it should because your nervous system is overwhelmed. You are feeling all of the feelings at the same time. I was reading something yesterday and it said, it's not that you're numb, you're feeling everything at once. And that's just too overwhelming for your system. So if you keep having the same fight and that same trigger and your emotions, I want you to think about it. Does my reaction match what happened? That's a great question to ask yourself. Is this valid for what's going on right now? And most of the time, if we're working from this overflowed cup, emotional cup, it is not. It is not valid. And if that's the case, we need to look at where's our emotional cup, how are emotional needs not being met, and then ask for those needs and explain that. I've talked before how my husband and I had trouble in the romantic area, and it started overflowing into other areas of our lives. And we had a conversation and he goes, I know why you've been so short with me. It's because I'm not following through with what we talked about. And it was really interesting because once he said that, I was like, oh, like he notices, but he also knows why. And I'm not being as aware of why. And I'm a therapist, right? I'm not perfect by any means. And when he said that, it almost, since then, that kind of reactiveness has definitely calmed down. And I've talked to you guys about it. We've gone to therapy about this and really understanding each other. So that therapy, those conversations about the problem, the true problem, has allowed that emotional cup to come out. So therefore, any sort of little thing doesn't feel like, this World War III situation. The next one is your brain gets addicted to the crash and the calm, right? So this is a cycle I want to talk about. Like tension builds, right? You're feeling that, right? And then it explodes because you're just like, fuck this. Then you start crying or someone starts crying. Then there's this mend, right? There's this reaching out and then there's a relief. The mend could be a hug, a hand hold, pretending like it's fine. It could be makeup sex, whatever it is that creates relief. If that sounds familiar, I want you to think that the resolution might be the release. Okay. So, what I mean by that is the release, that relief, if you will, at the end feels good. And it feels like closeness. It feels like starting fresh. So, you almost are like reenacting the problem in an effort to feel the relief. And your brain, especially one that's lived in chaos and unpredictability, starts to crave the cycle, right? Because I've always been in this unpredictability. That's comfortable. I've never felt the relief, or maybe I do feel the relief intermittently, and that feels like taking a Xanax, right? And it's not that you're trying to sabotage the relationship. It's this just that your nervous system is kind of linked conflict with calming. It's not that I can just be calm. I need to have conflict in order to feel calm. And that's really important to note because if conflict is the only way that we feel a sense of relief, that is a problem, right? That's a huge problem. And until you can rewire what that is, rewire that I even think about this with people who are like doers, like they have a lot of guilt for sitting and being with themselves. Being with yourself is exactly what you need to be, right? Being without chaos is exactly what you need. You need to sit and just be in the relationship and know that that is safe. And if you haven't listened already, I just did green flags that are usually dismissed. And this is one of them, like just sitting and being able to be vulnerable, being able to talk about things without conflict, with safety, with your vulnerabilities being, something that the partner holds close to them rather than uses them as a weapon. And so if we don't do this rewiring, we're just going to keep dragging it back, right? We're going to keep going into that same cycle, even when our mind and our bodies know better. We know we don't like it, but we don't know any other way to create relief. So my suggestion to you is when you start feeling that chaos, you need to be the one to calm yourself down. You're putting it on your partner in this cycle of, cry, get that hand hold or that hug, relief. Whereas maybe you just need to go cry and let it out somewhere else. Maybe you need to take a walk. Maybe you need to go hang out with your dogs. Maybe you need to, journal, whatever it is, create your own relief. That doesn't mean that the conflict goes away, but that means that when we're in that conflict, we're just having a conflict. We're not having this explosive fight. Number 3 is you mistake emotional whiplash for love. So again, if calm feels boring, something we talk about all the time, if you feel nothing unless something is wrong, if you only feel alive when emotions are high, that is a conditioned response. So similar to what we just talked about. But the first one is more the pattern of conflict equals relief, where this one is that you just believe that like relationships are this whiplash of just big highs and low lows, big highs and low lows, right? You've learned from childhood and past relationships that love comes from adrenaline, the highs and the lows, right? Another thing I see here with people too is that they do this kind of chase withdrawal. Like once I get them, I do something to like keep them guessing, right? So, you know, for example, I get the person, the relationship is stable, right? It's peaceful, it's consistent, it's content, but I don't register all of that as love. I register it as absence because I'm so used to the highs and the lows. So if I'm absent of the highs and the lows, I'm going to think that person doesn't care, which is crazy. Don't do that, right? But real intimacy and partnership is built in the quiet. It's built in the steady. It's built in the uneventful parts of your relationship. And if you have a hard time trusting this version of love, you're going to keep picking fights to fill the highs and the lows that you're emotionally addicted to. So again, kind of what I said in the last one, you need to realize that your nervous system, not theirs, maybe theirs too, but your nervous system is used to being in fight or flight, fight, flight, freeze, or please. And we want to bring it down to our grounded self, which is our parasympathetic nervous system and our social engagement. That is when we're not looking for the next conflict. We're not looking for what is unsafe. We're not looking if we need to run away or if we need to fight. We are grounded and mindful in the moment. And there are a lot of mindfulness techniques you can find on YouTube. For my clients, I add them. For everyone that coaches with me, they coach in an app, and I can add these different self-regulation tools in there. And so to wrap up, I want you to ask yourself, like, is this fight about now, or is it about then, or something that we've, a bigger issue that we're not addressing? Do I feel closer after we fight, and why? And what do I actually believe love is supposed to feel like? So if you keep ending up in the same argument, you're not broken. Your relationship isn't doomed. You're just carrying a lot of unspoken truth that we need to get to. That looks like you doing it on your own and then bringing that partner in, because right now we're wired in patterns that have been projected onto you in an early age that then you use to sabotage your relationships. And so if this episode hit home, I want you to sit with it. Like, shit, I have deja vu in my relationship and in the fights I have. But what I want you to not do is judge yourself. Just recognize that this is your truth, right? We're not blaming yourself. We're also not going to blame your partner, which is incredibly important. Just notice, like, why are these cycles happening, and why am I trying to call them love, right? Why am I trying to call this what a relationship is supposed to be like? Because the fight isn't really about the dishes. It's about the disconnect you guys have. So we need to reconnect, allow yourselves to be vulnerable, allow yourselves to reconnect to what you actually need, because there's unmet needs happening, and you either need to meet those in yourself and then teach your partner how to do that, or, we're always going to need to meet the need in ourselves. So there is no other option. We need to meet the need in ourselves. And then as a couple say, okay, I realize that this need was not being met in myself. And then for us, because now I'm a changed person because I've met a need that I've been trying to meet in somebody else, you have the conversation with your partner and say, this is kind of how this might look, or let's navigate this together, right? Again, it's not about the dishes, y'all. I understand this 1000%. If you like this episode, please share it. We always are clipping reels and shorts. We have the full episodes, of course. You can use the copy link and share it to your friends who might need to hear this because you're tired of hearing it, right? I know that very well with a lot of friends who I just hear the same conflict over and over again, but we're getting the same result at the end, right? And the same result is also a different result because it's just more intensity and resentment. So if you like this episode, I'd love a 5-star rating and review. As I mentioned before, the more you guys share, the more you review, the more this gets out to more people, and I get to spread this message to the masses. So I would love that for you. And with that, I'm going to leave you same way I do every week. I want you to think about, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. Talk to you later.